Hi, this is David again, and I just want to do a video here as I was thinking last night how these general authorities make money. They use your pesos and your euros and your dollars. They have no accounting for it whatsoever, and I want to do this video on general authorities writing books. Most of these guys, when you look at their education, their ability to write a book would be right at about 3rd to 6th grade. When you see someone like Monson, Tommy's been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and here he is at his age, and he decides to write a book. Well, why? We have scriptures, we have modern day prophets. He can stand up at the podium anytime that he wants and speak to the world, the members of the church, etc. Why would he have to write a book? Well, here's the reason, I think. Now this is just my opinion, you take it for what you think it's worth. I remember Joseph Fielding Smith wrote a book, and I remember when I was young I was reading it. And I was still in junior high or high school, I think. And he wrote that God put man here on the earth and that man will never leave this planet, ever. That is his prophecy, that is his vision, that is his information, I guess, from Jesus, because he wrote this book, and in this book you can see that there's no interplanetary travel or no humans will ever leave this planet. Well, damn, it seems to me, I was sitting, I thought it was Christmas night, I can't remember when Armstrong landed on the moon, but I remember seeing his foot touching and leaving tracks in the lunar landscape. And I know the Mormons think this is all a stage production, they never went to the moon. Hey, whatever you want to believe, I don't care, I think they went to the moon. And I think that Joseph Fielding Smith had, I think he was dead by then, I think he had egg all over his grave. I couldn't have it on his face. So here's a prophet prophesying, and it didn't happen. Well, join Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and the rest of the horde of prophets that have prophesied things that just have never come to pass. Well, I remember that. Joseph Fielding Smith book, and then of course there's been many others, and you can go to the internet. The Mormons can't. It's the evil thing. Mormons can't go to the internet and let this Mormon.org, Mormon.org. I give them advertisements all the time because the best way to show you what being a Mormon is like is go look at those people. Do they look happy? Anyway, I remember when I was at BYU in '72, I graduated. And I remember Bruce R. McConkie had his book, Mormon Doctrine. That was like the fourth, not a triple combination, but a quadruple combination. That book had every mark on it of every prophet, of every doctrine, of every policy of the Mormon Church. That book was used in Sunday school classes, priesthood classes, general conference. Oh my God, it goes on and on. Bruce R. McConkie was, a prophet in his own time. I think it was David O. McKay, and I remember David O. McKay because I'm old. God, I'm probably one of the 3 Nephites, I don't know. But I remember David O. McKay, and I remember reading that David O. McKay said something like, we need to censor Bruce R. McConkie. He's a little bit of a loose cannon. Well, I guess they cut back some of his either words or paragraphs or publication rights or whatever, and they kind of pinned his ears back. But David O. McKay, the prophet, didn't tell McConkie, you're out of here. And the Mormon Church and its leaders continued to use McConkie's book. Now, I remember also that Cleon Skousen, the first 1,000 years, the first 2,000 years, he wrote a book. And he made lots of money off of his book, too. Well, anyway, the Mormon Doctrine book, in the last 7 months, has been out of print. Deseret News now has received Jesus' command not to print those books anymore. Now, I don't think that Bruce R. McConkie, quoting Brigham Young in the book, saying that if you marry a black person, that your head should be cut off, and your mate's head should be cut off, and all of the children of that marriage should have their heads cut off. I don't think that had anything with the Mormon Church trying to become a little mainstream. It's kind of like the KKK saying, well, you know, we'll hang you from taller trees. We don't want you flopping on the ground. Come on! Do they really believe we don't have any common sense out here? McConkie's book was a piece of crap, and the Mormon Church promoted it for decades. Well, now it's off the shelf. You can't even buy it as far as I know. It's out of print. You might find it at a bookstore. There may be many Mormons watching that have McConkie's book. Well, why? Why are these authorities writing books? Is it to enlighten us? Well, the other one, Jesus the Christ. I'm trying to think who the author of that one was. Well, in my old age, I forget some of these details. Anyway, the point is this. Those books sell for $19.95. That's an average price for a book. That's not a total rip-off. Do the authors really write those books? No! No! They have a ghost writer staff, just like in the General Conference talks that go over the teleprompter. Those are all rewritten talks by writers of the Mormon Church. That's not the person speaking. That's not their input. And it's always stories about everybody else, but not them. They don't have the personal testimonies or the experiences to back up that teleprompter. So, they're $19.95. You can buy the books almost anywhere, unless they're out of print. Unless it's the documented history of the church, you can't buy that anymore because it said a lot of things too that the Mormons don't want ever read. And the comprehensive history, that you can't buy that anymore. They are burying, and I hope as an old man that my videos live on. I'm sure the Mormon Church will buy YouTube. And I'll go down the shit can. There's no doubt. If they keep getting more money, they will. Well, here's what I see. And here's what my left side of the brain says. Now, when I was LDS, I never thought these things. I thought, oh my gosh, he spent all that time to dictate that book. Well, he didn't. The writers wrote the book, and he may proofread it and approve or disapprove, but then the book is published. Now, I wrote a book once, so I'm not a writer. I'm not presenting myself as a literary genius, okay? I wrote a book on sudden infant death syndrome, and I sent it off to like 8 publishing companies. They all gave me the secret sign, token, and symbol of the Mormon Church. They wouldn't publish it, and many times they wouldn't even give you a reason. They wouldn't even call it crap. They'd just say no on one page of their stationery. So I know it's kind of hard to get a book published. Now there's publishers like Vanity Press. I think there's another one where you can pay. You pay them $10 or $20 or $30,000, whatever the amount, and they'll print you so many copies of your book. Well, then on your introductory page it says Vanity Press, printed by Vanity Press. So anyone that opens that page up knows damn well there wasn't a publisher in the world that was going to take you. The book was boring, it was stupid, it was undocumented, and the publisher's going to make no money. That's why publishers take your book. They sometimes give you a little retainer and say, you know, you get a certain percentage of whatever sells. Well, how do the church leaders get their books published? I couldn't. And I have a higher degree than some of them. You know, Dallin Oaks, he's a judge. But some of the others I can certainly match. But anyway, you couldn't take President Monson's book or A Miracle of Forgiveness. Who was that? Kimball? Spencer W. Kimball, The Miracle of Forgiveness. Well, you couldn't send those to a publisher in the United States or even in a foreign country and have them take that book on and say, oh, we'll sell that for $19.95 and we get 20% of the profit and you get 70% of the profit, however that's divided. I never got far enough to know, so I'm just speaking, you know, crap right now. So what happens is that the Mormon Church uses your pesos and your donations to supervise and to support the Deseret Book Company, publishing company. So the church has its own company. So Monson doesn't have to go around with letters and demonstrations and talking to people in the know to publish his book. He just sends it over 8 blocks to Deseret Publishing, and nobody there is going to go, this is crap, because they work for the church. And Monson would say, your ass is grass, you're out of here. So your pesos are not only paying for the Deseret Publishing Company, it's building, it's electricity, utilities, it's insurance as well. It may be 5013C, I don't know. But the point is, all those people working at the presses and all those people delivering, and I see the trucks going back and forth, and all the trucks that go out to the airport and fly his book out into foreign countries and into libraries. Well, now let's take a look. Is that fair? Is that fair that they can publish anything they want anytime? Well, they paid for it. I guess under the law it's fair, but where is the fairness of the people's money? The pesos coming in from Ecuador and Puerto Rico and other countries that are sacrificing to help the Mormon Church, their monies are going for those workers and their workman's comp, Social Security, disability, whatever. And so the members of the church in Utah do pretty well. They do pretty well living off of your money. Really well. The truck drivers and the cleaning people and the utility companies and the printers and the press and the binding and the paper company to produce Monson's and others' profits. Profits. I had a Mormon guy write back to me. He says, you spelled that wrong. Yeah, okay, his IQ is in the single digits. So I didn't say anything. So be that as it may, how do these guys think they're going to get free publication, and they don't even have to write the book, they just have a committee of ghostwriters, and they just approve it, then it goes to the printing press, and then it goes over to Deseret Publishing. Now, most people who have to sell a book, they have to advertise. There's a marketing cost. You have to put up billboards along the freeway. You have to go on the bestsellers list if you can get there. You've got to do book signings. You got to go to malls and different places to do book signings and have people talk about your book in the press. Does Monson have to do that? No, there's no overhead there. There's no expense there. He doesn't have to advertise crap because he has a ready-made, brainwashed audience. Now, the Mormon Church says they have 14 million members. Well, half of those, or not half, 2/3 of those don't exist. They have about 4 million is our best guess, because they don't publish those figures. About 4 million that are active, and they say that they have more outside now the United States than inside. So, you know, that means there's probably 2 million outside, 2 million inside. Well, if you have a ready-made audience, say of, let's split it, 3 million. Let's just say 1 in 10 families buys his book. Take your calculator out. I took mine out last night, and I'm not going to bore you. It's in the millions. It's in the millions, folks. Didn't cost him anything. He didn't write it. All of those people that your money supported to print it, manufacture it, fly it out of the country, truck it out of the country. Now, do you think that he might want that book put in every library of the Mormon Church? Thousands and thousands of ward houses? Oh, they all pay for one too. I'm sure out of the whatever monies. I don't know. These days, chasing the Mormon Church's money is like a Kylie Wyote. What's his name? The character that runs really fast. Coyote. You can't find Mormon money. You don't know where it comes from. It's shifted here and there. Zion's Bank just got fined by the IRS for laundering money in foreign countries. And most of the missionaries' monies go through Zion's Bank. So, they don't write it. They don't have to market it. There's no advertising. Hundreds and hundreds of people manufacture the book and publish the book. They have their paychecks. The truck drivers get their checks. The truck companies that the church buys from, they get their check. And then it goes out all through the wards, and then there is a underground advertising. Oh, in sacrament meeting, did you hear President Monson has a new book out? Oh no, I've got to get that. You know, it's kind of like a hysterical response in the Mormon church. Well, just take a look at it. Take 4 million people, say there's 3 million that really are a plausible audience to him, and just say, you know, maybe half or 1/3 or 2/3 buy his book. It's in the millions. It's in the millions. The books don't contain any more information than is available in their manuals and study guides. The books like Joseph Fielding that said we'd never make it to the moon are full of crap. Brigham Young saying cutting people's heads off in McConkey's book, that went over like a turd in a punch bowl. So, you know, the Mormon Church is trying to hide its history and trying to bury its past, but as long as there's people like me on the face of the earth in these videos, my son came over last night and he says, you know, Dad, I don't visit you very much because you have all those videos, and when you die, I'll be able to look at your videos. You bastard. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I am saying that older people like me who have been in the church a half a century, we've watched its evolution, we've watched its history, we've read its books, The Miracle of Forgiveness, McConkey's book. I was at on the BYU campus when McConkey was there. I had teachers, Hiram Andrus, Roy Doxey, Cleon Skousen. I was taught by supposedly some of the best historians in the church up to that particular point. So be careful. Let's look at it and be fair. If you could write a book and you had a ready-made audience, no advertising had to be done, no publishing had to be chased, no publishing fees had to be paid, it's a money maker. It's the Mormon prophets. It's an unpaid ministry? No, it's not. I was in California when I saw with my own eyes Hinckley come on the telescope. And, not telescope, the satellite dish. I should have taken my meds this morning. He's on the satellite dish and he goes, we used to have a non-paid ministry, but I want to tell the world now that our ministry is paid. Shit, they're paid 6 figures. Full health, dental, eye vision care, retirement. Their children go to BYU for free. Yeah, it's a paid ministry. Do they still sit on boards? Yeah. Do they still make 5, 6 incomes figures off of sitting on a board where they go to a meeting twice a year? Yeah, yeah. Are they the publishers and the board directors of maybe 25 to 50 profit boards in the state of Utah? Yeah, yeah, they are. People, let me tell you, it's the money. And when you're Monson, and if you don't have enough money after all is said and done, and you've got to publish a book and make another $1, $2, or $3 million, what does that say? Does he share that money with Jesus? Did Jesus come down to the Hinkster and say, hey, build me a mall and tell Monson there when you die, go ahead and publish another book, and it doesn't have to be about me. No, it's my church, but it doesn't have to be about me. Have him tell the stories about the old widows and people that died in the war that, has been looked up and they weren't even over there at that particular time. Let him lie. The Mormons won't look it up. The internet, I'll control and say, hey, it's Satan, it's Satan. So anyway, this just bothers me that these people have a ready-made audience that are automatically brainwashed. They're giving 10% of their income plus 2 or 3% for the fast offerings, and maybe another 1 or 2% for missionary work, and it just goes on and on. They're paying 12 to 15% of their gross income. Then they go down and spend another $20 to buy his stupid book. They pay, $200 a year to buy magic underwear and underpants from the Mormon Church. They can only get it from the Mormon Church. And they pay for the yellow vest, the Helping Hands, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They clip them again for another $4. It just goes on and on and on. So if you live in Utah, we do pretty good here. We love your money. Keep those pesos and euros coming in to Zion's Bank. We love you. If we're the presidency of the Mormon Church. I feel bad for you, and that's why I make these videos and let the whole world in Guatemala and Ethiopia and all the people that have been on my web, I'm coming up now on 11,000 hits. I never thought I would get more than 2 hits, one from my mom and probably one from a bill collector. 11,000 hits. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to make crap up. I'm not going to say I belong to an organization here, buy my book, oh, send your donations here, praise the Lord, Pele Ale. I'm just simply telling you what I've seen and what I've heard. There's no charge. There's no charge. All I do is say, this is my experience, I've thought about it, I have deprogrammed from what I call a cult. I think that their policies and procedures and policies are mean and cruel. I think it's the rich taking advantage of the poor. I think that there's many good Mormon people that are in the ranks of the Mormon Church that don't know what I know. I introduced the temple ceremony yesterday to a young couple, and they went into shock. They said they chant in the temple. I said, yes. They wear all those robes and veils and hats. Yes. Aprons. Yeah. He said, I thought the Mormon Church made fun of the Catholics and their confessional curtains and all the other church. I go, yeah, they do. Folks, don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. Look, by their fruits ye shall know them. Their fruits, you know, on their trees, 2/3 of their people have fallen off the tree. That doesn't seem like a very healthy tree to me. Doesn't seem very healthy at all. And for a rich man, already, Monson rides around on the Learjet, can't think of the name of the corporation that provides him that jet, and they do it for, you know, tax-free because, you know, it's a 501(c) that they can use a write-off. So he rides around on that. He sits on the podium and leans on Hinckley's tree and tells you, the world, what Jesus wants him to do. And one of the things that Jesus wants him to do is sell his damn book and bring him in another $1 million. Is he going to donate that money to the children in the Philippines that I held in my arms at the orphanage that were dying? Is he going to send that money to Haiti where a family has been sleeping in the mud for almost a year? Is he going to send that down to Brazil and help some of those people down? He's going to put that money in Zion's Bank, in his personal account, that will be inherited by his children and his grandchildren, and they will continue to laugh at the world sending the Mormon Church money that is not accounted for. Anyone in the world, and I'm including myself here, for 50 years I said, well, they don't account for it because Jesus tells them not account for it. Baloney! They don't account for it because they steal it. Because they use it. I talked to one of my friends out at the Salt Lake International Airport about 2 years ago. And he said, David, he said, you can't believe up in the warehouse there how many unsold Mormon document books are up there. He said it's in literally the hundreds of thousands that is just waste. That they paid to produce and print. They never went out. They never sold them. They're stacked in a pallet on pallets and in the corners, and the whole warehouse is full of it. You don't live in Utah. You don't know where your damn money goes. I didn't. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I gave them my money and never said what. My little wife, I told you, she's a returned missionary for the Mormon Church, and 23 years my younger, and certainly I am blessed by the atheist God that she stays with me. She got a little paper from her employer yesterday, and she put it in front of me and said, what is this? I said, well, Mercy, it's something you'll never see from the Mormon Church. It's an annual report. Well, what's an annual report? I said, well, honey, it's that company verifying how much they took in, how much they used for administrative costs, how much they paid out in health and 401ks and investments. It's every penny they took in. Oh, I didn't know they did that. I said, you know, one of the only people in the world that don't do it is the Mormon Church. Every other church, generally speaking, and every other private and nonprofit and profit corporation will tell the people where the money goes. Not the Mormons. Does that make you suspicious? It does me. It does me. Because whenever I've seen big money, anytime I've seen big money and no accounting, a blank check, I have always seen deceit, evil, untrustworthy, lying, cheating, and stealing. That's the reason that these other companies send out an annual report. And she goes, oh, yeah, I've never seen the Mormon Church do that. I said, well, you won't, because when they do, and if someone gets into those records, that will be the end of the Mormon Church. The cult will come falling down like Humpty Dumpty. So, be careful of what they say. Watch what they do. You want to go buy Monson's book? Good Lord, go buy it. Go on over to the Deseret book and buy the little statues, like the crosses for the Catholics of Monson and Hinckley. You can put them up on magnetized on your refrigerator. Yeah. If you have a refrigerator, if you're in a foreign country, you may not even be able to buy the magnetized pictures of these hinksters that are going on up there in Salt Lake City. You don't have a refrigerator. Just pay. Just pay your 10% pesos, and they promise you you're going to heaven. Well, if you think men like that are going to heaven, you deserve to be a Mormon. Good Lord. Go get baptized. Go join their church. You don't have a refrigerator. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Steve Benson, I have a little association with in writing. I don't know the man personally, who is Ezra Taft Benson's grandson. Wrote an extensive paper that when he was growing up in the Mormon Church, his father, the prophet Ezra Taft Benson, during conference, all of the families of the prophets and authorities went up to the top of the church office buildings, and the Mormon little families that had 6 or 7 kids were sitting on the lawn in between sessions, and they had a little sack lunch and a little bottle of water that they were passing out to their children waiting for the next conference session. And Steve, now I believe this is secondhand, but I believe Steve, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner, the Arizona Republic, he's a cartoonist, and he is a strong advocate of truth, and he said he was up there with his father and grandfather and all of the people in his family and all the authorities, and they had catering, food, buffet, as much as you wanted to eat. And he says he remembers going over to the sides of the building, looking out the glass way down below several stories, and seeing all the little Mormon families with 7 kids pouring water in the kids' Cheerios. If that's who you admire, if that's who you want your name associated with, if that's the way you want your money spent, good grief. Join or stay in the Mormon Church, bow your head and say yes, and pay lay ale the rest of the world and think you're special and you're peculiar. You know what? You are.